started. Okay. So today's speakers, we are joined by Jonathan, who's a developer advocate from JFrog, and also Dave Bernison, a senior DevOps advocate from GitHub. I'll let them introduce themselves when they start. But I wanted to just go over a few things because I'm sure some of you may or may not be familiar with the JFrog and GitHub integrations. So I just wanted to give just a little basic introduction just before we get into the details of the webinar itself. So today we're going to cover things like how we can automate at scale with JFrog and GitHub. That includes the actual integration automation, but how we can actually automate some of the activities throughout your software development lifecycle. We'll look how we can unify source and binary security, sometimes very important. Rather than treating things as silos, this would bring source and binary security together. Very now, agentic code generation and agentic remediation. We're going to talk a lot about that. It's very cool. I actually think some of the things that GitHub are doing are great, and we're working very closely with them on that. Not the most interesting subject in the world, compliance, but quite often you have to be compliant because you're in a highly regulated industry or your company have governance that you need to follow. And then we'll also talk about the GitHub custom agents, which again, very cool. Love GitHub's approach here, and we're working very much hand in hand. So here we go. So this is what we kind of regard as a best of breed integration. So if this is a typical software supply chain, you're writing code on the left side, promoting through the SDLC all the way out through to runtime. This is kind of how we see the software supply chain and how there is a synergy between GitHub and JFrog. So GitHub are, the #1 source code management repo, and they do a very good job of managing and securing source code binaries in source code in the source code repos. JFrog, which is very complementary, is we do a very good job of managing your binaries and your containers, your artifacts. And so we also do the management of security. So the two of them go hand in hand very well, code and binaries. So one step below this, security is kind of very top of mind. So if you imagine on the left, GitHub are very much focused on the source code repos and doing code security, code scanning. They also do an excellent job of secrets detection and prevention. And then in very much a complementary way, JFrog does security on your binaries, artifacts, builds, and containers. So we do software composition analysis. We scan your containers all the way down to every level. Something that we do, which is complementary, is we find the secrets that you have in your binaries or your builds, which sometimes don't appear in the source code. You think you've got rid of them in the source code, but they manifest in the binary. So it's kind of important to do the same thing on binaries as it is on source code. We do things like vulnerability prioritization. We help you guys look for misconfigurations of some of your services that you include in your application. And then we also do scanning for IAC security. So together, GitHub Advanced Security and JFrog Advanced Security sound like the same thing, but they're very complementary and sit very nicely next to each other. So complementary to that is we have curation, which is a feature that allows us to scan the open source dependencies that you're bringing into your IDE and then apply policies that your company may have. And then on the other side, we also can scan runtime and find vulnerabilities there. Now, the really cool thing about this is when you have the integration and you find something in runtime, you have complete traceability through your software supply chain all the way back through to your source code and your GitHub Actions job. So it's a great traceability from beginning to end. So here's kind of a bit more of a technical diagram about how the integration fits together. So you can see a number of touch points where Artifactory and GitHub Actions connect. We connect to your IDE. We also have an MCP server which connects to GitHub Copilot. We mentioned this custom agent earlier. We'll talk about that. But this is kind of how the two pieces fit together. So it's really quite a slick integration, and we feel it's very complementary and harmonious for the software development lifecycle. So enough from me, and I'm going to hand over to Jonathan, who's going to talk about some of the latest integration innovations that we've worked on together. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Just a second, let me share my screen. It's always the biggest challenge. How can I share my screen in a new platform? But let's do it. Can you see my screen? Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about the latest JFrog and GitHub integration, because we keep getting requests from our joint customers about features and some new bells and whistles they want in order to ease the process of working between GitHub, JFrog, and eventually getting to production. So the first thing we came with is the JFrog application for GitHub. And the main idea about this application is to automate the setup, because, I mean, who loves onboarding? No one. Onboarding is always a pain. It's friction, and we want to reduce it. So I will shortly show a demo, but the idea behind the application for GitHub is to ease the process of connecting everything. So if in the past, in order to install, for example, Frogbot, you had to go one repo by one and install Frogbot. But now with the application, you can do it from one place, just select the repositories you want Frogbot to be installed in, and you get it. So as said, we're talking about security visibility. So Frogbot integration, just you can do a bulk setup as said. You get the binary scans in GitHub code scanning. And this is an important point, because we want to keep the developer in the flow, and we want to have the relevant context and the relevant information where he usually used to be, which is, we understand it's GitHub. It's where you see the code and everything. So we understand that he wants to get the valuable information there as well. So with our partners in GitHub, we simplify the consolidation of the source code and the binary scan, and we bring everything into the GitHub code security dashboard. And not only that, but we also uploading the SBOM that we create to GitHub. So you get the binary SBOM into GitHub. We unify the dependency graph of GitHub with our SBOM, and you get the full picture. Now, agentic coding and remediation. We understand that, let me just close this one. Okay, so we understand that you want to build secure code, and the problem is that now it's not us who build the code, is the agents that running while we are here speaking or sipping cup of coffee. There are some agents that working for us, and we want to make sure that these agents are working in the context of our organization, doing only secure stuff and not putting our product in risk. So that's where JFrog MCP servers comes in place, together with the custom agents of GitHub, which Dave will speak about it later on. And this is a very powerful stuff. I mean, I saw it during GitHub Universe. By the way, Dave, GitHub Universe was awesome this year.
Yes.
It's getting better every year.
Yeah, there's so much going on. We're using the AI that we're asking you to use, so the pace of innovation just continues to accelerate.
It's amazing. It's amazing to see. Moving forward, okay, so Paul said compliance, and yeah, it might sound boring, but compliance is very important, especially today when you have no idea who brought this code in. You need to be in governance, and compliance is one way to do it, and basically the main way to do it. So we created an integration, which is the process of having an attestation and evidence and provenance. And if it sounds like a gibberish for some of you, it's a very important subject these days that everyone needs to have in order to understand where this code came from. Otherwise, it might be a malicious code, maybe. Now, as you can see in the middle, you have the minimize alert fatigue within Dependabot, because we understand that sometimes you get lots of alert, and we want to reduce that noise and let you focus in what actually matters. And that's where we, together with GitHub, worked on a new filter that, because now we have the full lineage, we can filter inside the GitHub platform only vulnerabilities which affects dependencies that resides in production repository. And that's actually help us prioritize what's matter and what we should tackle first. And
that's incredibly important, because alert fatigue is a real thing, right? You don't want to see so many alerts that all of a sudden it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? After a while, nobody believes that there's actually an issue there. So you really want to do the best you can to prioritize what needs to be fixed now.
Exactly, and that connects with our JFrog contextual analysis, where we have not only reachability of vulnerability, but also contextual analysis. So, for example, if you are using a vulnerable dependency with contextual analysis, we can also tell you if you are affected, if it's applicable or not. And we also bring this information inside the GitHub platform. I will show it right away. Okay, I think that we talked the talk. Let's start walk the walk. So let me head to e+.jfrog.io. Okay, so this is the JFrog platform. Great. Let's log in. And here what we added is the GitHub application installation. Now, how I do it, I can do it via, if I'm a trial user, so I can do it via this screen. But let's go to the administration tab. There I go to general management, manage integrations. And now under the GitHub tab right here in the middle, I can install my application. So here it says that there is no GitHub integration found. So let's add a repository. It suggests me to open the GitHub marketplace. So let's click it. And now I'm in the marketplace. Here I choose which account I want to install this application for. So I will choose Frog in Out. This is a new organization that I created. And here I can choose whether I want to give access to all of my repositories or only selected repositories. So you got the flexibility to choose which repositories you want to give this application access to. So let's install and authorize. Great. Now, once done, JFrog is asking for permission. I just give the allowance, and it will do the token exchange. And here I can see all of my organization services. So let's, now it asks me which repositories I want to connect with OIDC. Now, OIDC, it's OpenID Connect. It's the way of JFrog and GitHub to interchange short-lived token. So you don't have to, have a hard-coded long-lived token in your repository that might get compromised or expired, or everything can happen with token that resides somewhere and someone can take it. So now we create a short-lived token with OIDC. So I want to create this OIDC connectivity to all of these repositories. Let's click on next. What kind of token I want to give these repositories? So again, I can choose whatever type of token that I want, whether it's user, group, or user mapping. It's very flexible. I will go just for simplicity with an admin one. I will give it a user. I can choose my username or any other username that I want, even GitHub automation. Let's click on next. And here it tells me that it will create a pull request with an example workflow that will connect to JFrog. So let's confirm. Let's close this one. And we start the process. And here, if I will go, let's go to the reservation API. We can see that we have one pull request right here that was created for us. As you can see here, open now by JFrog app for GitHub. And it's basically adding the file to our repository. Okay, let's go here. Let's merge the pull request. Let's confirm the merge. And this is the main idea, is that eventually what we get here is this file that was created for us. It's the JFrog OIDC example. And here you can see that you have this step, the setup JFrog CLI. You don't pass any token, just JF URL, and everything is ready and set up for you. Now, why it's cool? Because afterwards, what I can do is, let me see, I have some hiccups here. Let's try to refresh. Okay, so it said the pull request is open and it starts the integration. But other things that I can do is going to the X-ray settings, and under the indexed resource, I can go to Git repositories. And just a second. Not right here. Probably missing something. Oh, here we go, frog in and out. And I can choose, because I connected reservation API, I can choose this to configure it and add some more stuff. So now we see that we have a SAST configured in that repo. We have software component analysis, contextual analysis, and more and more. And this helps us basically scan our repositories and get some insights in the repository itself. So here you can see I already have some findings, and one of them is I'll go under code scanning, and here you can see that it found some CVE. I can go in the CVE itself. As you can see here, it was a report by JFrog X-ray scanner, and we see that we have Axios, but we see that it's not applicable because, yeah, I only use this dependency, but I didn't really use it in my application, and that's why JFrog knows to tell you that this is not applicable. All right. Moving forward, let me see if I find the part of the frog. Yeah. All right. So here, this is the screen of where I can configure Frogbot in a bulk action. So we can see that the reservation API is already Frogbot integrated, but we can just check the other repositories and integrate Frogbot with these repositories. With just one click, we get it there. It's doing a pull request, it's integrating, and we get a success. We can go and see this merge on the GitHub side. So easily, we saw that we got a pull request and we also merge it. So we now have Frogbot available on these repositories as well. All right. Let's go back to the presentation. Now, we mentioned the custom agents. And custom agents is an amazing new feature by GitHub. It's actually give you the option, the opportunity to create custom agents for many different type of actions. So let's quickly run on this one. So here you can see we have a Frog security agent, which, by the way, can already be found at the Dave. What's the name? It's Awesome Agents, right? It's under GitHub.
Yeah, it's under Awesome Copilot. In fact,
Awesome
I'll drop a link to that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to drop a link already so people can go and check about it. So on your project, on the left side, you can see we have this agents folder, and inside we have the FrogSec agent with some rules and description of what are the capabilities of this agent. Now, the power of these agents come from a place where it has this MCP connection. So in GitHub, under the Copilot and then coding agent, you have this MCP configuration. And for those who are not familiar, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's basically exposed set of tools to the agent, so the agent can make some actions on your behalf using this tool. So it gives the agents power to integrate and communicate with external sources or resources, JFrog in our case. So this is the configuration, and once everything in place, you are ready to start use it. And when I say use it is, for example, click on this button at the top next to the Copilot icon, and then just change the agent to the relevant agent. So here I choose let me go back a bit, the JFrog security agent. And once chose this specific agent, I can delegate a task. So fix a CVE, for example. Now it will start work, and then I can go into the session of specific agent run. And what we will see here, that it's starting the work of the agent. So first of all, it exposed all the MCP tools that it could get from the MCP that we configured. So we see that we have create project and list repositories and get package version and so on and so on. And the idea here is that now this agent have the context of your organization, of your curation policy. And this is very important, especially today when we have all these NPM attacks, Shai Hulud, and so on and so on. We see it coming every day. And let me tell you something, it will keep coming, and they will always try to break the system. And you need to make sure that every link in your chain is strong and will not be a place where someone can attack your organization or your software. Okay, so moving forward, it started working, and let's do a fast forward. All right. In a second, MCP will kick in again, and here you can see that we called the get curation package status, because before it update the package, you first want to understand if your organization allow the usage of this package. And for example, if you have a policy saying, I don't want any package which is newer than 2 days, it's an immature and I don't want to use it, then with curation policy, you can verify that only what you want to get in will get in. Now, you might say, hey, it might cause lots of friction because then it won't be able to install it and it will break the build. And you're right, because we got this request already, and we came up with compliant version of curation, which means that JFrog automatically will resolve the most accurate dependency that comply with your organization policies. So if you try to bring a new, let's say, an immature package, it will fall back and bring you the latest applicable version for your organization. So you can ensure that it reduces the noise and the friction between the automation processes. All right, let's move on. So here we can see that eventually it gives you the JFrog security compliance. It tells you that the CVE was fixed according to the JFrog security research suggestion. The curation policy was checked and approved for the specific version that it installed. And the vulnerability scan is now clean. No vulnerability found in the new package. So you know that you are now safe and sound. Cool. Okay. Moving forward, we talked about the attestations. And now with JFrog attestations, we automatically integrate with GitHub to have these attestations held inside JFrog. Oops. Just a second. Cool. Okay, so here you can see a process of the GitHub app installation, like I showed you lively at the beginning. And now let's say that you have some dependable, just create some fixes, and you merge these fixes. You move on, and at this stage, this is your workflow. So you can see here you have the setup JFrog CLI, everything like we saw before. And additionally to that, you have this. We of course we check out the repository, and here you push, you build and push an image to Artifactory. Okay. And once pushed, we have the next stage, which is generate provenance attestation. It's action that GitHub already created for you. It's actions/attest-build-provenance add v2. And here you can see that we pass the subject name, which is the Docker image that we just built, /manifest.json, and the digest, which is the step build output digest, which we bring from the previous step. Now, once we did it, GitHub will automatically send this provenance to JFrog. So it kind of doing this step between action and Artifactory binary management. So they now sync together, and everything that happens in action being sent to Artifactory binary management as well. So here, for example, we have this octo billing that we pushed. And if we want to promote this to production, we can check if we have a provenance and if it's a signed provenance and allowed provenance from place where we know that built it. Because it might be something that was built in some malicious place that we are not familiar with. And we want to make sure before we pass it to production that it was built in the place where we trust. So you get this full artifact attestation to JFrog, and once promoted, it will either move or not. So here we can see that it moved to the Pro Docker without any problem. And I also talked about the filter that we created. So now, because we have this attestation and full lineage, GitHub is now aware of which artifacts are in production. It means that which artifacts are now inside repositories with a production tag. And because you have it, you can add a filter called Artifact Registry, JFrog Artifactory. And once it's there, it will reduce all the noise and will give you only the relevant dependencies that now resides in production. So then you can go inside and get more information about these artifacts and so on and so on. So this is about me. Let me unshare my screen. So this is about, that was about the recent features that we added. Everything, of course, is documented. So I encourage you to go and read the documentation and start play with it. And of course, we are here for any questions that might arise. Dave, the stage is yours.
Yeah, I dropped a couple of links in the chat there. So the link to the awesome Copilot repo, when you look at the README page there's a link to the awesome agents where you can dive in and see all of those. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, let me get where to go for the MCP server as well. Make sure I got the right link here. Yes. If you go here, actually do it this way. There we go. Make sure we get you all the resources you need here. The MCP registry, you can search for JFrog there. So hopefully that covers those things. Jonathan, thanks for handing off. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dave Burnison. I'm a senior DevOps advocate with GitHub, and I've had the fun and the privilege of working with Paul and Jonathan and others at JFrog now for, 15, 18 months, something like that. It's been great collaborating with everyone there. So let me share my screen out here. And there we go. So let's talk a little bit about GitHub Advanced Security, because now with GitHub Advanced Security, we are using AI to help not only find the vulnerabilities, but fix the vulnerabilities with Copilot Autofix. So now found means fixed. And so what are we talking about here? A key thing with GitHub Advanced Security is it's right in that workflow that developers go through all the time, right? This is the developer workflow of a pull request. I start working on a new feature branch, make some changes, submit that pull request, ask Jonathan and Paul to review my changes. They say, hey, if we want this to scale, you got to update some of those internal algorithms, and then we merge that code into main. And right in this workflow, this is where things like GitHub dependency scanning kicks in. So looking at your manifest files for NPM, NuGet, Maven, other things like that. And if we see a version of a dependency that you're using has a known vulnerability in it, we'll alert you to that and also help you to upgrade to a newer version. Next, we talk about secret protection. We had a blog post that went out last year that talked about what we found from our telemetry. There were 39 million secrets found inside of code and configuration files and stuff like that on GitHub. So, most time it's not intentional. I'm working on something new and it's like, okay, to get this wired up, I'm just going to throw this personal access token into my config file. Yeah, I'll move that to Azure Key Vault or whatever later. I forget to do that before I create the pull request. And there it is. I've got an exposed secret. The third thing is code security, finding risky code patterns in the code. So as soon as that pull request gets created, code scanning kicks in and looks for these kind of things. And probably by the time Jonathan goes to review my code, there'll be an alert right there in the pull request that says, hey, you've got a security issue here. Oh, and by the way, here's how that can be fixed. Do you want to just fix that right now? So the idea here is we want to detect and remediate vulnerabilities before new code is introduced into the main branch. And now when we talk about the integrations with JFrog, it also comes into play here. JFrog can augment that dependency scanning by looking at, what policies do you have in your organization as far as what versions are allowed and things like that. Looking at secret protection. The other key thing here is binary scanning. So we know, yes, you're taking the code that you build and maybe you're building that into a container. We're not scanning the base image of that container, but that's part of what happens with JFrog binary scanning. So if there were secrets embedded in that, that would get highlighted through the JFrog binary scanning. And we will see just how that works here in a little bit. So with secret scanning, like I said, maybe I've got a scenario here where I'm integrating with Azure DevOps, Azure Boards, and when a automated test fails, I want to go create a bug back in Azure Boards. So I create a personal access token, I throw it into my config file, like I said, knowing I'm going to put it in Key Vault later. I forget to do that when I make my changes. So I push that code, and that push fails because it detects that secret. And as you can see, there's over 100 different partners, 200 different token types. So if you're deploying to AWS or you're integrating with Stripe for credit card processing or something like that, we can detect those kind of secrets and keep that out of your code in addition to the scanning that we do for existing code and everything. code security. Here's that pull request we're looking at. And maybe Jonathan's going in to review my code, and we see this right here. Hey, there's an alert that we found in your new code, kind of a thing. And with AutoFix, we see that here, and we can actually say, we don't just give you a generic, yeah, normally this is how these kind of things would be fixed. Here's exactly what should be changed. And, oh, do you want to just commit that suggestion directly to this existing pull request? Now, security campaigns. This is a way to help you prioritize what needs to be fixed. So the idea with security campaigns is that they kind of sit at the organization level. So the hierarchy with GitHub is you've got your enterprise. You may have multiple organizations under that enterprise, and then your repos live within the organizations. Well, at the enterprise level, you can go in here and create various filters based on all of the alerts that are out there and say, okay, we're going to create this campaign and set a due date and say, we want these issues fixed by the end of the month. And this is the bridge between your security teams and your development teams. The security teams can come in and help you prioritize things. And we can see here, we've got like 15 items in this particular campaign. And in this case, Copilot AutoFix can fix all of those. So this can really speed up that remediation. This is partially what we mean, or this is what we mean by saying found means fixed, right? So you can just walk through those and take a look and say, yep, I want Copilot AutoFix to go ahead and fix that. So talked about the latest MCP server, dropped a slide in here that kind of talks about that. We already dropped that link into the chat and everything. So you have that there. Leveraging the JFrog custom agent. So yes, if we go to the awesome Copilot repo, I've been there before, so yes, I can skip the verification there. And I come in and I see awesome agents. If I go into awesome agents,
Dave, I think that we can't see the window if you're showing
oh,
browser.
I thought I shared my entire screen. Okay, let me do screen share. Okay, let me reshare. I thought I had shared my entire window. Ah, I see. Entire screen. I picked the wrong item. There we go. Thank you, Jonathan, for keeping me honest there. So yeah, if you go to this GitHub awesome Copilot repository and look in the README file under custom agents, it'll take you, let me go back since that wasn't sharing. So yeah, if you look in the README file, you'll see a section for awesome agents. And I go into awesome agents and I search for JFrog. And this is where you would see the security agent. And the idea here is I would go in here. All of these agents are just markdown files. You know, and the convention is it's whatever the name you want the agent to be, .agent.md. And then I can take that raw markdown, just natural language, and I can copy that and go over to so I have a repo here that I use to demonstrate JFrog integrations. And I go into the GitHub folder here and a .github folder in my agents file, and I put that actual markdown in here, and I can update it however I want, right? I can use that as a starting point and augment this with additional information and such. So now when I'm working inside of this repository, we added this agent panel here, and here's where I would see custom agents. So now we see the JFrog security agent here at this level, plus some other agents that I've defined globally within the organization. And if I go into what we call mission control now for agents, because part of the idea, Jonathan mentioned earlier, yeah, we're going to assign work to an agent, and we're going to go off and have lunch or, sip our tea or coffee or whatever. But the way we see things evolving is the role of developers is going to evolve to orchestrating agents. The agents are going to write a lot of the code. Well, with mission control, I've got where I can see everything that I've assigned to the agents and things. I was updating my Azure Pipelines workflows here a few days ago. Last night I said, hey, I want to, let me go back up the top so we can see here. I want to review the dependencies in this repo based on my organization's policies. So it's going to use that custom agent, which under the hood is going to use the JFrog MCP server. And here we can see, the information from the pull request. It just changed our package JSON files and updated, the versions that we're pulling in and everything. But it did that based on information from like the JFrog MCP tools and all of that. And, at the end, it gave us, a nice little summary here of everything that it was able to find and fix. And that's what we see. And another comment I will put in there is, look at this nice, thorough description that we got from the Copilot coding agent. I don't know very many developers that actually take the time to put in that level of detail into their pull requests and things. So also these agents help us really document all the work that's going on as well, kind of a thing. All right, so let me go back to the presentation here. So yeah, just in the presentation, I had a couple of slides about this, and here's that picture of that summary again and everything. Here's our documentation and such about prioritizing Dependabot code scanning alerts using the production context. I know this was I think it was first talked about at Swamp Up, if I'm not mistaken, and we also kind of talked about this at GitHub Universe a little while later. So we've got the documentation and everything here for that. So yeah, let me continue on with what I had for demos and things. So I already showed the custom agent. Let me go over to my notes here. And there's my demo notes. All right. Get back to the right window. There we go. So here I am in that repo where we're demoing this integration and everything. And one of the key things I want to show here is now that we have this all wired up. So last night going through or yesterday, whenever it was, going through the setup for JFrog, it actually kind of walked me through the changes that I would need to make to use the OIDC integration for workflows and everything, which that's great. That's fantastic. But we can see the we can see in the workflow here. Actually, let me go back to, there we go. That's what I want to do. I want to show this from the workflow perspective. So yeah, we can see it's giving us a sample of what we need to put into our workflow for that CI/CD and everything. But if I go to my checks, we see that in this case, a check failed, and it wasn't directly related to that code. But if I look at it says, hey, there's an error here that this was blocked by JFrog package curation service due to the following policies being violated. So this is where all that curation and everything from JFrog is coming into play right inside of our GitHub Actions workflows for CI/CD, build, test, deployments, etc. And when we look at the summary pane here and look at the JFrog summary, I really appreciate how JFrog put this together, because it's a very beautiful summary of things. But yes, we can see right here, one package was blocked based on that particular policy and everything. So that's a combination of GitHub Actions and JFrog helping us keep what we build and deploy very, very secure. All right.
Right. And Dave, I want to add, you said the secret scanning, and it's so important to scan your code from secrets, because even if you deleted a secret, it might still be in your Git history. And we've seen many of secrets, valid secrets in the Git history. So it's super important to use the GitHub secret protection. And not only that, because we already saw cases where secrets got sneaked into binaries. It can be a Docker file, for example, a PYC file. And we have heard about the story of the Python admin that leaked his admin token to the Python organization, and it was found by one of JFrog's scanner. And that's the way I see it, is that you need a seatbelt in your car, but you also need an airbag. So you know that you are safe, ABS system and everything. So you need to scan your code and your binaries for secrets, because it's a very sensitive subject, and everyone should track it down and make sure you're covering all the 360-100.
Well, running with that analogy, if you think of GitHub as the car and JFrog as the child seat, right? You strap the kid in the child seat, and you strap that child seat into the car, into GitHub. And then that way you know that both the car and the adults are safe, but also the children are safe through the integration through that car seat and everything. So,
right.
Looking at the code scanning results specifically here in our demo environment, you can see we've integrated with JFrog binary scanner. We went through the process of adding the tool here and everything. So yeah, if I look at just the binary scanner results here, we see 3 items in here detected by JFrog binary scanner. If I go back, we see the other things are detected by CodeQL, etc. Here's some things detected by X-ray scanner, in fact. And now with security campaigns, so I've got a few campaigns over here to highlight. I'm going to highlight this, the one for JFrog specifically. And here again, we can see that there were 6 items here. 3 of them can be fixed by autofix. Those are the native ones found by CodeQL. And then you've got the ones in here for JFrog binary scanner. So the idea here is I'm going to go back up to the organization level. I'm looking at this from the repo level right now. I can create a campaign. I come in here, I set a date, and then I can apply my filters and say, yes, alert state is open. And we want to look at everything where the tool that was found is either CodeQL or JFrog binary scanner. So you can give permissions to the security team to see these alerts and help you prioritize things. Because then, especially with the ones that can be fixed by Copilot autofix, I can go in here and say, actually, I can even update the filter. So let me do that. I can say where autofix is supported. So that's going to highlight the autofix ones here for me. And, I kind of expected that to go to 3, but that's okay. So I'm going to come in here for auto fix, and you can see, it tells us what the alert is, and it's showing us how to fix it, and we can commit that right here. So I could assign that to myself, or should be able to. There he is. I could assign that to Jonathan, but now, whoops. It's a live demo when you see all the typos and things, right? I can assign that to Copilot. So the Copilot coding agent could actually go ahead and make that fix and do a new pull request for us and everything. So one thing to note, whenever there are, and actually, I've got another pull request in another repo that I can show for this. When we, here we go. We said we want to implement search engine optimization. So the work was done by Copilot. We even had Copilot do a review on this code. So there we go. Yeah, here's, Copilot going through and reviewing, just making some general changes and things. The thing to note here is Copilot cannot merge the pull request. We always include a human in the loop to do that kind of a thing. So yeah, just kind of wanted to point that out. But yeah, security campaigns are a great way to help you prioritize things. You can pull in those alerts from JFrog and other tools as well. All right, I think, yep, I showed custom agents, security campaigns, actions. I think I am good here from my demos and everything. So Paul, do we want to take a few minutes and answer some of the questions?
Yep. Okay, thanks you guys. That was excellent. Love the demos, love the interactivity. I did answer, and I think you helped as well, Dave, some of the questions that we got. So I did have some that we didn't get a chance to get to. And I think someone asked this in the Q&A, so I'm just going to reiterate. You don't, so GitHub Advanced Security, you don't have to have GitHub Advanced Security to actually connect the two platforms together. But when you want to have JFrog's code security or JFrog's binary security scanning inside the GitHub code security tab, you need to have code security from GitHub. So I think recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, that JFrog GitHub Advanced Security was broken up into two parts. One is code security, and the other one is secrets protection. Is that right?
Yes. We separated those out as two separate SKUs to give users choice on what they want to work with there. Yep. Okay.
The other thing that came up, and I've got one extra question. One I think I answered already was, how do we prioritize vulnerabilities to fix first? And I think it was kind of answered by Jonathan. We, at least from the JFrog side, we have advanced security, which can show you which vulnerabilities are applicable and which are not in the context of your specific application. So if you have JFrog Advanced Security, we will actually show you inside the code security tab which of the vulnerabilities listed is actually applicable to you or not. So that can be a way, at least if you're utilizing JFrog scanning or JFrog security scanning, that we can show you which ones you should be focused on prioritizing first.
Right, and also you got a pretty convenient view in the platform itself. So I'll just show for those who are not familiar for a second. Let's share this screen. So you have this view that actually shows you, like, you get by specific repository, you can check a specific image, and here you can see, for example, that of your critical and high vulnerabilities, you have only 3 applicable, and all of these 42 which are not applicable. So it helps you prioritize, and you know what you should go and track first, so you can get inside and get more information, JFrog research enriched information, and why we give this severity a high severity. We give the exact reasons. In the contextual analysis, we also give you the evidence where you are using this vulnerability, so you can go immediately and see it in your code. So we give you the full traceability and the full information you need in order to mitigate it as soon as possible. And of course, we can also tell you that although you have this vulnerability, it's not applicable. And here again, we tell you why it's not applicable and why you are safe to keep your work and do the right prioritization. So this is about it.
And just something I'd like to add on that. At JFrog, we actually have a security research team, and they spend all of their time looking at vulnerabilities. How do they work? What are the configurations that are needed? And they put all this intelligence into the platform. So one of the investigations they did is they looked at all of the critical and high severity CVEs, and they actually checked how applicable those really are generally. And I think their research showed about 75% of these high or critical CVEs are not actually applicable because they require some kind of non-standard configuration. So if you're using these dependencies in a normal way, they tend to not be applicable. So we help you understand which things you need to fix and which ones you don't. So it can save you guys a lot of time. There is another question I want to get to before, if people have to leave on the minute, and this question is for you, Dave, is what type of Copilot license do I need for this to work?
I have to double check. I believe it's Copilot Business or Copilot Enterprise. You know what? I can pull this up real quick.
Yeah, I know there are some free versions of Copilot.
Right. Well, there's personal versions. Copilot Pro is just a personal version. It's not tied to a organization. Oops.
Okay.
So let me. Here we go.
Can you paste it?
I will share again here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I will paste this link in here that you can, let me get to the public chat and paste this in here. This is a great place to go because it talks about everything that's available for the different Copilot plans and everything here. And similarly, you would have, so you can get to the security as well. I know we're crunched for time here.
Yeah.
Oh, here I actually want business. There we go. Yes. And I'm sorry, which were we looking for again?
It was just Copilot. They were just asking
okay.
which license of Copilot they needed. So somebody asked me to share the screen again, and I'll just do that quickly. Let me make sure that I'm on the right slide, and I'll share my screen. I think this is from Robert window, this window. I will share. So I think Robert wanted to see this diagram. So this kind of shows the two platforms side by side, how it's very complementary to have source code management and security on the left side, and binary or artifact and container management on the right-hand side. It is actually a very complementary integration. And one of the things I'm not sure if we got to see is when you do a build and you publish your build to Artifactory or to JFrog, you can actually click back from your build back to your source code project. So the connectivity and traceability between the platforms is excellent. So I'll just stop sharing so we can get back to I don't know if everybody's still here. I think there's a few people here.
I see 26 still.
Yep.
Let me see if there's something I missed. I'm scanning down. No, I think we got to all of the questions. Okay, that's excellent. I thank you guys so much for your time and presenting. Thank you everybody for joining. I hope you found it useful. And like I said at the beginning, we'll be making sure that you guys get a link to the recording if you want to review this or share it with colleagues. And a couple of you, I was digging into some more answers from our R&D team. We'll be following up with you with the answers to that. But if that's it, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon on another JFrog webinar.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.